All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Melissa McKay. I'm a developer advocate with JFrog, and I'm sitting next to Tom. We are at the JFocus conference in Stockholm, Sweden. Really exciting. This is my second JFocus. Tom, is this yours?
This is my first JFocus. I've been in Stockholm 10 years ago, but that was all the way back. I thought I would come back to Stockholm and recognize places, but nope. I think it has changed a lot in 10 years. But this is my first time going to JFocus, either physically like today or virtually. I've never been. So.
And this is the first time it's been held in May. So the weather, you can't see it. I wish I could show you all, but it is beautiful outside. It is spring here. The walks in the evening, like when we go out to get a quick dinner after all of the sessions, it's been just amazing.
It's a really beautiful city as well. Like, I love how they mix the real modern kind of buildings, but then next door there's like a really old school, like classic Northern Europe feel to everything. Yes. Especially Gamlastan, like the old town is just beautiful.
Amazing, amazing. So Tom, I didn't introduce you appropriately. Would you like to tell everyone who you are and what you do, why you're here at
Mid-conversation, no problem.
Yes.
Hi everyone. My name is Tom Kools. I'm a software developer from Belgium, and I work for a company called InfoSupport, where I am a consultant for Java technologies, and I'm also one of the Java community leads. Awesome. And in that role, it's my job to show that we, as InfoSupport, have a stake in Java, that we want to share our knowledge in Java. And also, the other way around, I have to absorb everything I can find of Java and push it into our organization to all the Java developers. So not everyone has to stay up to date. I just write, together with some other colleagues, write a newsletter, the Java newsletter that's internal, like, hey guys, Loom is approved for 19, or at least Java 19 should be coming.
Awesome.
So that's kind of my job.
That's a pretty good position to have. I imagine it gets overwhelming for developers in your day-to-day to try to keep up with everything that's coming out and all the new changes. Yeah, definitely.
And I explicitly focus on just Java because of that. Because when I started my career, I started to expand and like, oh yeah, I want to learn C#. I want to know all the programming languages, like it's Pokemon. It's like I want to catch them all. But after a while, you realize that even just the Java ecosystem is growing so fast and expanding, and cool new stuff is coming, that I decided for myself, just, you know what, Java is enough. Yeah. And some of the other JVM languages, Kotlin, I dabble in a bit, but that's close enough.
Yeah. Well, I think what impresses me most about this is the community. The Java community is pretty incredible, and this conference is so well organized and has just been a pleasure to be at. I know this is a very different experience for both of us since it's held in May now, since normally it's in February. But I'm really curious what that's like too. I intend to come back again if they'll have me, and be able to see what it's like.
I actually am a bit disappointed that it's now and not in February, because I like cold.
You do.
I like ice.
And dark.
I like dark. I like cold. I like ice swimming.
Oh yes.
One of my favorite feelings in the whole world is sitting in a really hot sauna with an ice cold beer. Because then you can feel the difference. You can just feel it flowing. It's maybe a bit disgusting, but you feel it flowing through your body, like the ice cold liquid going down while you're super hot around you, and that's just a great feeling to have.
Sounds incredible.
Or a bit counterintuitively, eating an ice cream in the sauna has about the same effect. You need to be quick. You need to be quick, and your hands might, it starts melting. But it's a funny feeling.
Awesome. All right, so hopefully I'll get to have that opportunity here. You can't visit here without trying out a sauna, right?
No, not really.
So I look forward to doing that at some point this week. This conference, you have a talk, right?
Yeah, I did.
You want to tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, sure. So my talk was called Modern Testing Patterns, and it was an overview session of all different ways to test, because I noticed that a lot of people, when they test, they mock away everything. They try to isolate everything into little unit tests, but
I've done that.
Almost everyone does. Why is it frustrating? Because you say
it's frustrating for me because sometimes I just don't know how to do it in the best way, and like using test containers. trying to mock something all by hand and by scratch when there's tools out there already available that maybe you're just not aware of until you come to a conference like this and you go to a talk like yours and you learn about these awesome tools.
Yeah, that's why I decided to give the talk, because I see a lot of people mocking away all their dependencies, because a couple of years ago, it was really hard to start up a database in your test. It was really hard to start up another API that you could test against.
Yep.
But now with test containers or things like WireMock, it's so easy to set up those external dependencies that it's way easier to test against that than to try to mock everything away.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
I once heard an expression, I think it was Venkat, that said, if you mock away everything, your tests mock you.
This is true.
Yeah.
You start testing things that aren't the things you should be testing.
Oh,
you start testing your mocks.
Yeah, exactly. And then we're surprised it breaks in production.
Exactly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So what do you think? What do you think is coming down the road? Do you think this is going to improve in the future? Are there more things coming out, more features, more additions to these tools, or are they pretty much set? They're ready to use for any developer?
They're already ready to use. That's what I think is most important. I think contract testing has still a little way to go.
Okay.
Because it's relatively new, and we're still, I know microservices have been out for quite a while now and people are using it, but we're still finding like holes in our testing things that we're really missing. And I think contract testing is one of the things that will help on that aspect, but I feel like it's missing maybe just adoption, people getting used to using the tools correctly. And I think the biggest change will be people start using these tools and then they'll run into issues and try to figure out new stuff. And it's always difficult to like try to predict what's coming.
It is. It's something too. I mean, the longer you work in the industry, you just learn to manage your expectations. You know that as soon as you solve one thing, there's something else coming down the road. I mean, you solve one path and then you run into another wall, and now you got to figure that out.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I guess that's why it takes a certain personality, maybe someone who's willing to tackle that again and again and again.
Yeah, definitely.
Because it never ends.
No, I think part of the trick to that is focusing not on the tooling but on the concepts behind the tooling.
Yes.
Because if you look at for JavaScript, it's pretty obvious. We get a new JavaScript front-end library. It's Angular, it's React, it's Aurelia. I think Aurelia is kind of dead by now. But a lot of the concepts in those frameworks are actually the same. You have a controller class, yada, yada, yada. And if you get the concepts, then it's not that hard that when the next tool comes to jump on that next tool, because the concepts are kind of the same. And the more you can relate new stuff to things you already know, the easier it is to learn those new technologies as well.
Yeah.
So for example, test containers, if you know Docker, it's pretty easy to get. Start a container, drop the container, but then in an easier way to do it in unit tests, for example.
Yeah, that makes sense. I remember this was really good advice. It was way back when I was an intern, and anytime our team would introduce something new, our mentor at the time would always, even whether he knew the tool or not, he would always approach everything the same way. We want to use something, he would come to us and say, what is the problem you're trying to solve?
Oh, that's an awesome question people should always ask themselves. Because I see a lot of people jumping into tools or architecture choices like microservices, but let's not get too deep into that. Yeah, what is the problem you're trying to solve? Good question.
Yeah. Go back to those basics and you might end up on a completely different path than you expected.
Definitely.
And it's the same for these tools too. I mean, they were built around a certain problem. So if you have a little background knowledge on these tools, rather than just jumping in and using them, as a developer of tools in the past, and now, with a DevOps company, we're always looking for opportunities to improve developers, their work life. And it's amazing how you build a tool a certain way, and you will find developers that will use it in ways you never expected. And now it's too late, right? It's out there. It's going to be used that way. So that's when all the bugs come in. And you're like, it wasn't supposed to be used that way. Now, whose fault is that? You could go round and round on that one. But I was told once about like to never gold plate anything, never put anything extra other than what you're asked to do, because it is now a feature, and now it expects maintenance.
And then,
yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I like keeping it simple and keeping it like just plain. Boring software is usually good.
Yes, yes. Well, I want to just talk a little bit more about test containers and how you would use databases. I like this one specifically just because of my own, so I'm being selfish, sorry, but my own personal experience with this.
Okay.
I actually had to, was involved in writing some software that had to work with several different databases.
Yeah.
And of course, I didn't have those all installed. Some of them, it was impossible to install on my machine, and it just didn't make sense to write test cases for each one. And then we ran into those problems where the syntax was slightly different.
Yeah. That's where the problem starts, not being able to even test it in a more manual way by spawning the database yourself.
Yeah.
And did it work with Docker then, to run the databases in Docker, or didn't even that work?
We didn't even get that far.
Okay.
We ended up writing different test suites for different databases. It was pretty ridiculous.
Okay.
That was a long time ago, though. That was pre-test containers. So.
Okay.
Nice that we have those now. I've only used them.
I don't think test containers solves this issue though, with different scripts.
Oh no, well, I mean, at least we were able, would be able to bring it up and run tests against it.
Yeah, but then you would still have different.
You still have
database
different,
scripts.
but, exactly.
The thing I would use for that is Liquibase, and I've also used it in my talk today. I really suggest that you also use, so for those who don't know, Liquibase is this database management tool. So it's a bit like Git. You write a file that will execute, for example, it will create a table. And then whenever you want to change something, you have to make a new file that appends that. And it's an incremental changelog that gets executed. And I really suggested during my talk today, and not just today, but all the time, that you should also use those kind of tools like Liquibase or Flyway in your tests as well. Because that's where you're trying to emulate the real life use case in your tests, and if you use Liquibase in production but you don't do it in your tests, then there might be some discrepancies. But what I like about Liquibase is that it's able to generate different SQL based on the database it's connecting to. So it's like an abstract. I want to create a table with these fields, and then based on the database you're connecting to, it executes different SQL if it needs to.
So you're right. That would have solved our problem a lot better to have that abstraction layer.
How many years too late am I?
Yeah, if I could only go back in time to past Melissa.
I'll just hold it like this. So it's fine.
These microphones are great. I know. Well, I would like to close with this. Now that I know that you're from Belgium, did you bring any chocolate?
Oh yeah, I did, but it's in my backpack, so I can't just jump behind the sofa. I'll give it to you once we close down here. So.
Okay. This is why I'm friends with Tom, so I can get Belgian chocolate.
Our relationship is very chocolate-based.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your time. If you missed Tom's talk or you're interested in learning more about test containers and what he has to say about this subject, please check out the recordings that will be available on JFocus website after the conference.
Yeah, and you can find me either on my Twitter, which is below, or on Tom Cool, so my name.be.
Awesome.